All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're tackling The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan. It's all about productivity and success. And, it's jam-packed with research and real-life stories.
Yeah, this book, it kind of throws out the old playbook on how we think about, getting things done.
Like in a world that's constantly telling us to do more, be more, it comes in with this really bold statement, like saying that focusing on just one key thing, that's the real secret to getting those extraordinary results.
They actually kick things off with this super visual analogy, and it really kind of sets the stage to the whole book, the domino effect.
Oh, yeah, dominoes?
Exactly. Picture this. You've got one domino and it tips over, right? And then it hits another one, and then another, and it just creates this chain reaction, this unstoppable momentum. And the book actually describes this real-world domino display where they toppled like over 4 million dominoes.
4 million?
Seriously.
4 million dominoes.
That's a lot of dominoes. It is, but here's how it connects to, actually getting things done in our lives. So the book takes it a step further. They extrapolate this domino effect, and they show us its true potential scale. Imagine if each domino was just slightly larger than the one before it, right? Like even just a tiny bit bigger.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
So the 31st domino, just the 31st one, would be taller than Mount Everest.
Whoa. Okay, now that's some serious domino power.
And then they go on to say that the 57th domino would practically reach the moon. The point is, even the tiniest action, when you focus it and repeat it, it can achieve mind-blowing results.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here to productivity, but does this actually play out in the real world?
Absolutely. The book, it highlights how so many successful companies and individuals, they achieved their breakthroughs by really focusing on their one thing. Think about Colonel Sanders and KFC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his one thing was that secret chicken recipe, and it built an empire. Or Intel, the majority of their revenue comes from their intense focus on microprocessors.
It's like finding that one thing. It's almost like a common thread in all these success stories, right? Like it unlocks this hidden potential or something.
Exactly. And even companies like Apple, right? Known for having a ton of different products, they transition their one thing over time. From the Macs to iTunes to iPods to iPhones, each product, it became like the central focus, and it created this ripple effect that just drew customers into their whole ecosystem.
It's fascinating. And this idea, it's not just about, massive corporations and businesses. It applies to individual skills and passions, even personal relationships. Like the book argues that.
Think about Bill Gates. I mean, he was obsessed with computers early on. And that single passion, it led him to develop those crazy coding skills. And then that led him to Paul Allen. And then ultimately, boom, Microsoft was born.
It's amazing how it's like each step builds upon the last, But what often trips us up, I think, are all those common misconceptions about success.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like the idea that we're supposed to be these superhuman multitaskers doing it all the time.
Like having it all, doing it all.
Keller calls those the 6 lies between you and success.
Oh, I like that, catchy.
Yeah, and he really debunks them. He tackles that lie that everything matters equally, right? And he uses something called the Pareto principle. It's also known as the 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that. But refresh my memory. How does that work again?
So it basically says that roughly 80% of your results, they come from just 20% of your effort.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the key to real productivity, it's not about checking off a zillion things on your to-do list, right? It's about identifying those vital few actions that'll have the biggest impact.
The quality over quantity.
Exactly. But the book goes a step further with this idea of extreme Pareto. Imagine taking that 20% that really matters and narrowing it down even more. Keep refining it until you reach the most crucial element, your one thing.
Like a productivity funnel, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Narrowing it all down.
You got it. And this extreme approach can lead to breakthroughs and insights. The book gives this great example of how Keller's own company used this approach. They brainstormed 100 ways to improve their industry standing, right? Then they narrowed it down to 10. And then finally, they zeroed in on just one big idea. They decided to write a book.
And that one book, it became a national bestseller. Okay, that's a powerful testament to focusing on the right thing. But let's be real, multitasking, it's a trap, right? Like we all fall into it.
It's almost like a badge of honor in our always-on world.
Exactly.
But Keller argues, and research backs this up, that multitasking, it's actually a myth. Our brains, they're just not wired to effectively focus on multiple things at the same time. Like when we try to juggle too many things, we end up doing them all poorly.
I feel that. It's like trying to write an email, answer a text, and listen to a podcast all at the same time. Like something's got to give.
Right, and the book compares it to juggling. It looks like the juggler's handling multiple balls at once, but they're actually being caught and thrown, like in rapid succession, one at a time.
It's that constant task switching. It drains your energy, makes you less effective. No wonder I feel fried at the end of the day, after multitasking.
The consequences, they actually go beyond just feeling tired, too. The book cites all these studies that found that chronic multitaskers, they make more mistakes, they have poor decision-making skills, and they even experience higher levels of stress. It's a productivity killer.
And when it comes to things like driving, multitasking can be straight up dangerous.
Absolutely. Keller actually highlights a Pulitzer Prize-winning series of articles from the New York Times. It exposed this alarming rise in distracted driving accidents, often caused by, things like texting or talking on the phone while behind the wheel.
Oh, yeah. I read about that. It's scary.
It is scary. Okay, so we've busted the multitasking myth, but then there's this idea that you need to be like a disciplined person to be successful, right? Like you have to have this iron will to achieve your goals.
Yeah, like those super disciplined people you see on social media.
Right, like look at me. I woke up at 4 a.m. and ran a marathon before breakfast.
Oh yeah, those people.
But it's a misconception. We often think of discipline as this rigid, demanding force, but the one thing, it points out that success, it's not about doing everything right. It's about doing the right thing.
It's about focus, not force.
Exactly. And that actually often requires less discipline than we think. The book uses this really interesting example, Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer.
Oh yeah, the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Right. As a kid, Phelps struggled with ADHD. He was considered to have a really short attention span. Like his teachers even doubted his ability to focus on anything, yet he becomes the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Okay, so how did he go from struggling to focus to becoming an Olympic champion? That seems like a total contradiction.
The key is that he found his one thing, swimming. By channeling all his energy and focus into that one pursuit, he was able to develop the discipline he needed to excel.
So it's like finding that one thing. It unlocked his potential, and it made discipline more attainable somehow.
It's not about being this superhuman who can perfectly control every aspect of their life, right? It's about finding the key habit that will drive your success and then focusing your willpower on developing that one habit.
I think I'm starting to get it.
And the book gives us this really powerful tool for doing just that, the focusing question.
Yeah. That's the one that asks, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?
Right. Yeah, it's like a mental compass that helps you prioritize. And the key is to turn this question into a habit, to ask it regularly. Keller suggests a 66-day challenge to really solidify that habit.
66 days. Wow, that's quite a commitment.
It is. But it's about rewiring your brain to seek out your most leveraged priority. And this ties into another fascinating concept from the book, the idea that willpower is a limited resource.
Wait, so our willpower, it's not something we can just tap into whenever we need it.
Unfortunately, no. Keller debunks that lie that willpower is always on will call, right? He explains that our willpower, it's more like a muscle that gets fatigued with use. Like every decision we make, big or small, drains it a little bit.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Like I know I'm way more likely to make impulsive decisions, at the end of the day when I'm exhausted.
Exactly. The book references studies, including that the famous marshmallow test.
Oh, the one where they give kids a marshmallow.
Yeah, and they tell them they can eat it now, or they can wait and get to later. Yeah. And the kids who are able to resist that immediate gratification, they ended up exhibiting higher academic achievement, better stress management, even lower rates of drug addiction later in life.
Wow. So those early indicators of willpower really can have a long-lasting impact.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for us, in our day-to-day lives?
Well, the key takeaway is that if we want to be truly productive, we need to be strategic about when and how we use our willpower. Keller recommends tackling your one thing, like early in the day, when your willpower is at its peak, before it gets depleted by all the decisions and distractions of the day.
So front load your day with your most important task.
Exactly. And that brings us to another one of those lies that resonates with a lot of people, the pursuit of a balanced life.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. We're always hearing about work-life balance and finding that perfect equilibrium.
But the one thing, it challenges that notion. It argues that true success, it often requires periods of imbalance.
So it's not about trying to like give every area of your life equal attention all the time.
Right. It's about recognizing that there will be times when you need to like intensely focus on one area, like your career or a major project, and that might temporarily create an imbalance in other areas.
It's about being okay with that ebb and flow, knowing that it's not going to be perfectly balanced all the time.
And the book really drives this point home with this story about a woman who she meticulously saved fabric and patterns throughout her whole working life, dreaming of sewing beautiful travel clothes for her retirement.
Oh, that's a nice thought. It's like she was like saving up those little moments of joy for later.
Except tragically, she passed away before ever reaching retirement.
Oh, wow. That's a harsh reality check.
It is. It reminds us that time waits for no one. Postponing our dreams in pursuit of some perfect balance can lead to regret.
It's not about neglecting other areas of our lives. It's about understanding that there are seasons for different pursuits, and sometimes achieving extraordinary results requires us to prioritize one thing above all else, at least for a certain period of time.
And the book, it's careful to clarify that these periods of intense focus, they're not meant to last forever. Just as you invest yourself in your work or a personal project, you can then shift your focus to reconnect with loved ones or take time for yourself.
It's about finding a rhythm that allows for both focus and renewal. But I think sometimes we resist focusing on one thing because we have this fear of thinking big.
Yeah, like what if we set our sights too high and then we fail?
Exactly.
That's the fifth lie that Keller tackles, the idea that big is bad, right? It's this common fear that holds us back from setting audacious goals.
It's like we'd rather stay in our comfort zones, even if it means settling for mediocrity.
But the one thing, it argues that it's actually small thinking that limits our potential. When we're faced with a choice, we naturally gravitate towards what we know, what feels safe and achievable.
Right.
But that keeps us stuck in a cycle of playing it safe.
So how do we break out of that cycle? How do we start thinking bigger?
The book, it shares some really inspiring stories about individuals who achieved massive success by embracing big thinking and just relentlessly pursuing their visions. Like Sabir Bhatia, the creator of Hotmail, he arrived in America with just $250, but he went on to achieve incredible things because he dared to think big.
Or J.K. Rowling. I mean, she envisioned that entire Harry Potter saga before she even wrote the first chapter of the first book. It's amazing to think about the power of having that grand vision.
Right. And these stories, they highlight the importance of adopting a growth mindset and setting goals that stretch us beyond our current comfort zones. It's not just about the end goal. It's about the growth and learning that happens along the way.
So even if we don't achieve that ultimate goal, we've still learned and grown in the process. But I think the biggest excuse we all have for not focusing on our one thing is simply saying, I don't have time.
Yes, the sixth and final lie. The ultimate excuse, especially in our fast-paced, always-on world. I don't have time to focus on just one thing.
Right, because who actually has free time anymore?
Yeah.
We're all so busy, juggling work and family and social commitments and
Yeah, the book, it makes this compelling argument that this is a lie we tell ourselves because we haven't truly grasped the power of prioritizing. It introduces this concept of time blocking, which is essentially scheduling a non-negotiable appointment with yourself to work on your one thing.
I love that analogy they use from comedian Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how Seinfeld used a large calendar to mark off every day that he spent writing jokes. His goal wasn't to write amazing jokes every day. It was simply to not break the chain.
It's such a simple but brilliant strategy for building momentum and making consistent progress on your most important work. And the book, it emphasizes that time blocking isn't isn't just for work tasks. It can be applied to any area of your life where you want to see significant results.
So whether it's improving your fitness or nurturing a relationship or learning a new skill.
Exactly. It's about treating your one thing like an important meeting that you wouldn't dare miss.
Okay, so we've thoroughly debunked those 6 lies.
Yeah.
But the one thing doesn't stop there. It goes beyond just dispelling misconceptions. It lays out this clear framework for achieving extraordinary results.
They call these the 3 commitments, and they really build upon everything we've discussed so far.
All right, so let's dive into those commitments then.
Okay, so the first commitment is to follow the path of mastery. This is about dedicating yourself to becoming the best you can be at your one thing.
So it's not just about identifying that one thing. It's about continuously developing and honing your skills in that area.
Precisely. It's not about striving for perfection. It's about embracing a mindset of continuous improvement and a willingness to push beyond your comfort zone.
It's about becoming a lifelong student of your one thing, always learning, always growing.
Exactly. And the book actually highlights the work of psychologist K. Anders Ericsson. He popularized the idea of the 10,000-hour rule.
Oh yeah, the idea that it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become an expert in something.
Right. Ericsson, he studied elite performers across various fields, and he found that they all shared this common pattern of dedicated practice accumulating like over 10,000 hours in their chosen domain.
So it's not just about natural talent. It's about putting in the time and effort to truly master your craft.
And what's fascinating is that this concept of deliberate practice, it applies not just to skills like playing an instrument or mastering a sport, but also to professional pursuits and even personal development.
It's about approaching whatever your one thing is with that same level of dedication and commitment. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first commitment, mastery. What about the second commitment?
The second commitment is to move from E to P.
E to P. What does that even mean?
It's about shifting from an entrepreneurial approach to a purposeful one.
Okay, so E stands for entrepreneurial and P stands for purposeful.
Yeah.
But how do those two approaches differ?
So in the beginning, when we're first starting out, we tend to approach our goals with our existing skills and resources. Working within our comfort zones. That's the entrepreneurial approach. It's all about making do with what you have.
But that approach only gets you so far, right?
Right. To achieve extraordinary results, we need to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace new ways of thinking and doing. That's where the purposeful approach comes in.
So it's about evolving our methods as we grow and learn.
Exactly. It might require, seeking out new mentors, learning new skills, or even completely overhauling your current approach.
So it's about being open to change and constantly seeking out ways to improve. Okay, I'm getting this. What about the third and final commitment?
The third commitment is to live the accountability cycle.
Accountability, that sounds a bit intimidating.
It's really about taking full ownership of your outcomes. It's about recognizing that you're the author of your own story, and that blaming external factors for your lack of success, it's a surefire way to stay stuck.
So it's about owning our choices and taking responsibility for the results, both good and bad.
Exactly. And the book, it emphasizes the importance of finding an accountability partner, someone who can provide honest feedback and support your journey.
So like a mentor, a coach, or even a trusted friend.
Yes, someone who will challenge you to stay committed to your one thing and help you navigate those inevitable obstacles that come up along the way.
It's like having someone in your corner.
Yeah.
Cheering you on and holding you accountable.
Precisely, and it's a crucial element of the accountability cycle.
Okay, so we've covered the three commitments: mastering your one thing, moving from an entrepreneurial to a purposeful approach, and living the accountability cycle. It's a powerful framework for achieving extraordinary results in any area of life.
It is, but achieving extraordinary results, it's not just about about making the right commitments. It's also about protecting your time and energy from things that can derail your progress.
And that's where the four thieves come in.
You got it. These are the common pitfalls that steal our productivity and prevent us from reaching our full potential. And they can be sneaky. We need to be vigilant.
All right, so let's unmask these thieves. Tell me about the first one.
The first thief is the inability to say no. We've touched on this before, but it's so important that it's worth repeating.
It's so easy to get caught up in wanting to please everyone, but saying yes to too many things ultimately means saying no to your one thing.
Keller, he uses the example of Steve Jobs. He famously streamlined Apple's product line from like 350 products to just 10 when he returned to the company in 1997.
Yeah.
He knew that true focus, it requires saying no to a lot of good ideas in order to make room for the great ones.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if you're saying yes to everything, you're saying no to something. We need to be ruthlessly selective about what we commit to.
Absolutely. And the second thief is the fear of chaos.
I mean, this one hits close to home. I definitely struggle with wanting to control everything.
It's a common struggle when we prioritize our one thing. It often means other things get pushed to the back burner, and there's a natural tendency to want to keep everything in perfect order.
But the reality is that achieving extraordinary results often requires embracing a certain level of chaos.
Exactly. It's about learning to let go of the need for perfect control and trusting that things will eventually fall into place.
Okay, so we've got the inability to say no and the fear of chaos. What about the third thief?
The third thief is poor health habits. We've talked about the importance of managing our energy, but it's worth emphasizing again. When we're sleep deprived, stressed, or neglecting our physical needs, our productivity takes a nosedive.
Yeah, and Keller, he actually shares a personal story about how his own unhealthy work habits landed him in the hospital.
It's a stark reminder that we can't pour from an empty cup.
We can't keep burning the candle at both ends.
Right. The book, it stresses the importance of prioritizing sleep, eating well, and making time for activities that recharge your energy. These aren't indulgences. They're essential for maintaining high levels of performance over the long haul.
It's like investing in your most valuable asset, yourself.
And the final thief is an environment that doesn't support your goals.
So we're talking about both our physical surroundings and the people we surround ourselves with.
You got it. The book talks about the importance of creating a workspace that's conducive to focus and productivity, free from distractions. It also highlights the impact that our social networks have on our behavior and our goals.
Yeah, because we tend to pick up the habits and attitudes of those around us.
Exactly. So surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people who are aligned with your goals can make a huge difference in your ability to achieve extraordinary results.
It's like creating an ecosystem that nurtures your one thing.
I like that. An ecosystem for success.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've tackled the domino effect, the 6 lies about success, the focusing question, the 3 commitments, and the 4 thieves.
It's a powerful framework for achieving extraordinary results in any area of life. But the one thing, it goes beyond just the practical stuff. It also delves into the deeper why behind focusing on your one thing.
Yeah, it's not just about being more productive or achieving external success. It's about living a life that is meaningful and fulfilling.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most compelling points of the book. The idea of living a life without regrets.
Yeah, and Keller, he shares a really poignant anecdote about the most common regret of people who are nearing the end of their lives. I think this is where things start to get really personal and powerful.
Absolutely. It's where the rubber really meets the road.
So what is that number one regret?
According to Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, the most common regret that's expressed by dying people is that they didn't have the courage to live a life true to themselves, rather than the life others expected of them.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is. It's a reminder that life is too short to waste on pursuits that don't truly matter to us, and that's where the one thing comes full circle.
It's not just about getting things done. It's about identifying what matters most, our one thing, and having the courage to pursue it, even in the face of fear and doubt and challenges.
Exactly. It's a call to action, to live with purpose, to prioritize what's most important, and to pursue our goals with focus and intention.
This has been an incredible exploration of the one thing and its powerful message. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much to unpack.
There is, and we're going to dive even deeper into how to apply these principles to your life in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned. Welcome back.
I'm excited to continue our deep dive into the one thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack in this book. It's like a treasure trove of wisdom.
Mm.
And one story that really stood out to me was the one about the father and son puzzle.
Oh, that's a good one. It perfectly illustrates the power of focusing on the one thing. Remind me how it goes again.
Okay, so picture this. A father promises his young son he's going to spend the entire Saturday with him.
Sounds like a recipe for some quality father-son bonding time.
Right. Except, despite his good intentions, the dad, he gets sidetracked by his usual Saturday morning routine, coffee and the newspaper.
I can already relate. Weekends, they can be tough for sticking to plans, even the best ones. Right. So the son, eager to start their day of fun, he keeps interrupting his dad. And the dad, wanting just a few more minutes apiece, he comes up with a plan.
Let me guess. Screen time. A strategically placed toy.
Close. He remembers a full-page ad in the newspaper, featuring a picture of the world, like a really complex image. He rips it into tiny pieces and gives it to his son as a puzzle, figuring this will buy him some time to finish his coffee.
That's pretty clever, if a little bit sneaky. I wonder how long it took the son to complete that puzzle.
Well, that's the amazing part. Within minutes, the son proudly announces that he's finished.
No way. He must have been some kind of puzzle prodigy.
Maybe, but there's a twist. When the dad asks how he managed to do it so quickly, the son explains that he dropped a piece on the floor. And because the table was glass, when he looked up, he saw the image of a man on the other side of the puzzle piece.
Ah, I see. He focused on putting the man together first, and once he did that, the rest of the world just fell into place.
Exactly. It's a brilliant metaphor for how focusing on our one thing can simplify even the most complex challenges by identifying and tackling the most crucial element. Everything else becomes easier.
It reminds me of that quote, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. It's about breaking down big goals into smaller, more manageable steps and focusing on the most important one first.
And the one thing, it takes that concept and applies it to all areas of our lives. It encourages us to ask the focusing question, not just about our work, but also about our relationships, our families, even our communities.
It's about shifting our perspective from what can I do to what's the one thing I can do that will make everything else easier or unnecessary.
And that question can be tailored to fit any situation. For example, the book suggests asking, what's the one thing I can do this week to improve my marriage?
Yeah.
Or what's the one thing we can do tonight to support our kids' schoolwork?
And in a professional context, you might ask, what's the one thing I can do today to complete this project ahead of schedule, or what's the one thing I can do before my next review to get the raise I want.
It's like having a laser focus on the actions that will have the biggest impact.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with our time and energy, and making sure we're focusing on the things that truly matter.
But even though the one thing emphasizes focusing on that one thing, it doesn't it doesn't completely dismiss the importance of other tasks and responsibilities.
Right. The book acknowledges that life is multifaceted. We have multiple roles and obligations. It's not about neglecting those other areas. It's about recognizing that our one thing should be our primary focus.
So it's about creating a hierarchy of priorities.
Exactly. Once you've dedicated time to your one thing, the book suggests using the focusing question to identify your next most important task, and giving that the attention it deserves.
It's like a system of cascading priorities. Start with the most important, and then move down the list, ensuring that each task gets the appropriate amount of focus.
That's a great way to put it. And this approach can be applied to any aspect of your life.
It's a way of creating order and clarity amidst the daily chaos. And one of the things I really appreciate about the one thing is that it's packed with practical strategies and real life examples and research backed insights.
It's not just a motivational book. It's a toolkit for success.
Exactly. But beyond the practical advice, it also challenges us to think deeply about our purpose and our priorities.
It's a book that has the potential to transform not just our work, but our entire lives if we're willing to embrace its core principles.
And one of those core principles is the idea of living a life without regrets.
That's right. The book's final chapters, they explore the profound connection between achieving extraordinary results and living a life free of regret.
And that ties back to the quote you mentioned earlier about the man who moves a mountain by carrying away small stones. It's about taking action one step at a time,
Yeah.
and not letting fear or procrastination hold us back.
Keller shares a really powerful quote from Mark Twain that captures this sentiment perfectly. He says, "20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover."
That's such a powerful reminder that we only have one life to live.
And that the choices we make or don't make, they shape the course of our journey.
It's about having the courage to pursue our dreams and not letting regret dictate our lives.
Exactly. And the one thing, it provides a framework for doing just that. It's about identifying what truly matters to us, our one thing, and then taking consistent action to make it a reality.
It's about living with purpose, intention, and a deep sense of fulfillment.
And that brings us to the heart of the matter. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanna leave you with this question. What is your one thing?
It's a question worth pondering. What is that one thing that if you achieved it would make everything else easier or unnecessary?
It's a question that can be applied to any area of your life, your career, your relationships, your personal growth.
Take some time to reflect on what truly matters to you, what you're passionate about, and what you want to achieve.
Once you have an idea of what your one thing might be, the next step is to start taking action.
Even if it's just one small step today, that's progress. Remember the domino effect. Even the smallest action can create a ripple effect that leads to extraordinary results.
So don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. Just start.
And remember, the one thing, it's a valuable resource filled with strategies and tips to help you along the way.
We'll be back in the next part of our deep dive to explore those strategies and help you put them into action. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. And I feel like, we've really unpacked a lot from the one thing, from, that domino effect to debunking those 6 lies about success to those really powerful 3 commitments.
Yeah, and we even talked about the 4 thieves, right? The ones that can really sabotage our productivity, and that thought-provoking idea of living a life without regrets.
So much good stuff. But let's get practical now. How do we actually apply all of this to our lives? Like starting today.
Well, the book offers a ton of practical strategies, but one of the most important ones is time blocking, something we talked about before.
Right. That idea of scheduling a non-negotiable appointment with yourself to work on your one thing.
It's about treating your one thing with the same level of importance, as a meeting with your boss or a doctor's appointment.
Because let's be honest, we're all guilty of letting our schedules get hijacked by things that are urgent but not necessarily important.
Exactly. And that's why time blocking is so crucial. It's about proactively carving out that time for your one thing before your schedule gets filled with everyone else's priorities.
The book actually suggests blocking out at least 4 hours per day for your one thing.
At least.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot, but I guess it's about making that conscious decision, right? To prioritize what truly matters.
It's about shifting from reactive to proactive. Instead of letting your day control you, you control your day.
Right. But I think that the key here is to be realistic.
Yeah.
About what you can actually get done in that time block.
Absolutely. It's not about cramming in as much as possible, into those 4 hours. It's about focused, intentional work on your one thing.
And I remember the book talks about building a bunker around your time blocks.
Ah, yes. The bunker mentality. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about minimizing those pesky distractions and creating an environment where you can really do that deep work.
Okay, so like what? Turning off notifications, putting your phone on silent, maybe even like closing your office door.
Exactly. It's about creating a space, a sacred space, where you can just fully immerse yourself in your one thing, no interruptions.
And I think the book also emphasized that it's important to communicate your boundaries to others.
Right.
Like letting your family, friends, colleagues know, hey, I'm unavailable during this time.
Absolutely. Setting those expectations up front so you can actually focus.
Yeah. Another strategy the book highlights is habit stacking.
Oh, habit stacking. Yes.
What is that exactly? Tell me more.
So it's about using the power of your existing habits to build new ones. You basically identify a habit that you already do regularly, like brushing your teeth or making your coffee, and then you stack your new habit onto that existing one.
So for example, if I wanted to start meditating every morning, I could stack that habit onto my morning coffee routine.
Precisely. By linking your new habit to an existing one, you're just more likely to stick with it because it becomes part of your automatic routine.
Like it's piggybacking on that existing habit.
Yeah.
To make it easier to adopt a new one.
Exactly.
I like it.
And we also need to be mindful of our energy levels throughout the day.
Yeah, and we talked about willpower being a limited resource.
Absolutely. And our energy levels, they fluctuate throughout the day, too. The key is to identify those times when you're at your most productive and schedule your most important tasks for those peak times.
So if you're like a morning person, you tackle your one thing first thing, when you're feeling fresh and energized.
Well, if you're more of a night owl, maybe block out time in the evening when you're feeling most creative and focused.
Right. And the book also, it suggests taking regular breaks.
Yeah.
Throughout the day to kind of recharge.
Even short breaks, they can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Just taking a few minutes to step away from your work, maybe stretch, go for a walk, it can help you return feeling, refreshed and ready to tackle that next task.
Like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And lastly, the book talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with a supportive environment.
Right, because we talked about how the people we spend time with, they can really influence our habits and our goals.
Exactly. The book suggests finding those mentors, coaches, accountability partners who can support you on your journey as you work towards achieving your one thing.
It's about building a network of people who believe in you.
Yeah.
And your vision.
Absolutely. And it's also about creating a physical environment that's conducive to productivity. This might mean, decluttering your workspace, maybe investing in some ergonomic furniture, or simply finding a quiet spot where you can really, really focus.
Yeah. It's about creating a space that inspires you.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the one thing, I want to leave you with this. The journey to achieving your one thing, it's not always easy, right?
No, there will be challenges, obstacles. setback.
But remember, the most important thing is to just keep moving forward,
Yeah.
one step at a time. Don't let fear or perfectionism paralyze you.
And remember that domino effect. Even if those dominoes, seem small at first.
And remember, the most important thing is not just achieving success, but living a life that's truly meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive, and I really hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
I've really enjoyed exploring all these ideas with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep pushing towards your one thing.
Yeah.